Okay, well, it's 10 o'clock and we can go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining this next generation of the Long Coffee Break. My name is Bill Ronan. I'm a senior sales engineer for Long. And today we are going to be talking about rooftop units with stripped down controls. We're lucky enough to be joined today by Chip Gresh, who is an application engineer with Daikin Applied Americas. Thanks, Chip. I'll let you get it started from here.
Thanks, Bill. Again, my name is Chip Gresh. I'm an applications engineer here with Daikin. I've been with the company for about 2 years or so now. Previous to that, I came over from one of the competitors, Valent Innovent, if you guys have heard of them. I was with them for a couple of years, and then previous to that, I was with Twin City Fan. I was with them for about 6 years in their industrial and then international groups. And then previous to that, I was with a smaller company called Air Quality Engineering. AQE took filters and fans, put them in boxes, and shipped them out. So my boss there said, you know, if you're in the HVAC industry, it's a good solid living. You're not going to become super rich, but you're going to have a good consistent job, and that's what I've experienced throughout the years. I've been doing this for a while and learning something new every day. So today, what we get to learn about is stripped down controls, or otherwise known as refrigeration only controls. This is offered on the Daikin products. It's the Maverick unit, the Rebel unit, the Rooftop unit, and the Rebel Applied. If you guys haven't heard of the Rebel Applied, it's our newest product. It's been out for about a year or so now. We took what we've learned from the Rebel product and then the Rooftop product and kind of got the best of both worlds there. So it's a modular unit, but we've got inverter compressors and all the efficiency gains that we've had from the Rebel unit, and we've kind of packaged that in as one. Goes up to 52 tons. We're looking to expand that product out here in the near future. So look forward to that product. With those products, Daikin offers a controls platform on board already. And what that controls platform is going to do is it's going to control the speed of the fans. It's going to control the refrigeration. Do we need the space cooler? Do we need it warmer? It's also going to control heat. So if we, like a day like today where it's -7 here in Minneapolis where I'm at, we need a lot of heat. So the controls package on those units can take care of all that. But sometimes you don't necessarily want the controls package from Daikin. Maybe you have a college campus or you have a hospital complex, and one year you've bought a train unit, the next year you bought a carrier unit, and then say last year you bought a Daikin unit. Well, last year you finally learned your lesson and went with the good stuff. Thank you for that. But with each of those units, they have their own controls platforms, and it's going to be difficult for somebody on staff to know, okay, this controls platform is for the carrier product, this is for the train. Shoot, now I'm over at the Daikin product. It gets confusing where somebody's going to have to know all the different platforms. But what if the air handler had a way to communicate with a master controller so that operators didn't have to know exactly what they were doing on each and every single controller or user interface? They could just have one solid user interface that's used throughout that goes to that master controller, and then that master controller sends a signal to the unit as to what to do. Well, that's exactly what refrigeration only controls is, or the stripped down controls. So what we're going to talk about today is the controls package from Daikin, go a little bit further into that, but we're going to spend a majority of our time is to exactly what is refrigeration only controls. We're going to still do it about a 10,000 foot level show of that. We're not going to go in depth into that. We just don't have enough time. We do whole seminars on this, so we're going to just touch on this a little bit. We're going to talk about some advantages and opportunities, some market spaces where these are used in very well, and some field requirements. And then we're going to do a little prize giveaway there at the end. So with the controls platform from Daikin, we offer as a standard with that, the controller is going to take care of things like, we're going to have sensors. We're going to have an outdoor air sensor. We're going to have a mixed air sensor. We're going to have a pressure sensor in the space so that we know, or in the duct, so that we know how fast to run the supply fans. We're going to have a pressure sensor possibly in the space to know how fast to run the return fans. If we've got an energy recovery wheel in there, we're going to have a sensor in there. We're going to be controlling that speed of that energy wheel so that we know to slow it up, slow it down, speed it up, whatever we need to do with that. But one of the big things that we're also going to do with that controller is we're going to be controlling the refrigeration. We're going to be controlling how fast the compressors are running, how fast the condenser fans are running. And then also we're going to be taking care of the heat. If we've got an electric heater in there, we're going to turn that up, or if we've got steam heat or a hot water coil, we're going to open and close those valves, or if we've got a gas furnace, we're also going to turn up or turn down that valve. But what is refrigeration only controls, or the stripped down controls package? What it is it is a onboard slave controller that is going to receive a signal from a master controller. It's going to ramp up the compressors and ramp up the condenser fans if there's more of a call for cooling. It also can ramp those down if need be. What that offers is it's going to offer a level of protection on those compressors. Compressors are one of the biggest things that fails on the unit. The refrigeration only controls is going to offer a level of protection to kind of save those. With the new inverter compressors, their operating envelope just isn't conducive to a lot of the control sequences. So what refrigeration only controls is going to do is it's going to receive a signal from the master controller, but it's also going to say, hey, I've got an alarm from my inverter compressor saying I've got a low oil level. And it's going to say, I'm going to ignore this master signal, and I'm going to speed up my inverter compressors to draw more oil back so I don't have a compressor failure. And then after we get to an ample oil level, then it's going to say, okay, let's go back to that signal from the master controller and let's do what that refrigeration is requiring of it. So it's offering a level of protection, a level of safety, so that if the controls are telling the unit to do something that's going to break the unit, it's not going to break the unit. So it kind of makes it a simple process to run. It's a great level of protection for the unit so that we don't damage something. So with the refrigeration only controls, that handles just the refrigeration, but there's a lot of other components within the unit as well, such as the fans. What happens with the fan? The fan signal is going to be responsible by the master controller. So that's going to tell the unit how fast to run the supply fan. That master controller is also going to tell the return fans how fast to run. So within the unit, we're not going to make you, when you receive that unit, you're not going to have to fish wire through the unit. The wires that are going to the supply fans, we're going to have a terminal block next to the controller within the unit. And in that controller, or in that terminal block, it's going to be labeled really well. Hey, these are the wires that need to go to the supply fan. So whoever is on the roof, like I said, in Minneapolis, we're at 7 below right now. So if you're installing a unit right now, you've got a tech on the roof. That tech is not going to want to fish wire through the unit. That's going to be a ridiculously impossible task for them to do. It's not going to go well. So we have all the wires going to a terminal block. So that terminal block is going to handle the supply fans. The master controller is also going to handle something such as the outside air damper, opening and closing that, or the mixed air damper. It's also going to send a signal for the hot water valves, or the electric heater, or the gas heater, or the gas furnace. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what refrigeration only controls is. If you take a quick peek at this picture here, it's the controller is situated right in the middle there. That is the typical controller. The Microtech 3 or Microtech 4 controller, it looks exactly like that. With the refrigeration only controls, it's the same unit there. It's just what's on the inside of the unit. The components are just a little bit different. So it's the software inside that's going to actually be different. So advantages and opportunities. What kind of advantage do we get with this? So if you've got a great controls contractor that really has a lot of great sequences that they're in charge of, and they do a really good job of, this is a great opportunity for something like that. If there's a team out there that has a great controls contractor, use them for that, and then send a signal over to the refrigeration only controls for a call for cooling, or for less of a call for cooling. I've got a job in-house right now. I actually just came out of a conference call from that to jump on this one, where the team has 14 different inputs, temperature sensors. And they're saying, okay, for temperature sensor A, I need to have this happen. For temperature sensor B, we need the control to do this. For temperature C, D, and E, it's got to be this. And I said, that's a great problem. That's a great problem for somebody else to solve. I just don't have the inputs for that. I can have 2 or 3 temperature inputs coming into my controller. I can't have 14. and I don't have a way to designate which temperature sensor overrides the other one. That's a great problem for the controls contractor. Once you have that figured out, you figure out that sequence, then send me a signal as to what you need my air conditioning to do. What do you need those compressors to do? Do we need it colder? Okay, we'll ramp up the compressors. And condenser fans, do you need it not quite as cold? We can ramp those down or shut them off if need be. So that's a great opportunity right there. We all get mixed up into these really technical situations, and this is just a great opportunity for us to get out of. So markets, we touched on this a little bit. If you have a college campus or a hospital complex, you know, there's lots of buildings and buildings being, you know, they're expanding those all the time. I went back and visited my old college, and man, they're building like a machine right now. With those, you have new buildings going up all the time, new units going in place there, and those complexes want to have their own controls platform where they're going to have one single user interface that's used throughout, and they're going to want to have their own temperature sensors throughout. Well, that's what this can offer. Again, if we go back to how many different units, if we have a train unit, they have their own user interface, they have their own temperature sensors. If we have a carrier unit, they have their own temperature sensors, they have their own user interface. And then we have a Daikin. Well, what we can do with this is we're going to let that complex have all their own temperature sensors and their own user interfaces throughout every single building and every single space that they want those to. And then the units up on the roof are going to get a signal just from the master controller, but they're going to handle everything else. Retail complexes, retail still happening. We're still out going shopping, and those businesses are going up all over the place. And corporate office parks, I'm sitting in my house right now, but we're going to be back in offices here real soon if you guys aren't already. And we're getting bigger and bigger. So there's a great opportunity for those as well. And then the biggest thing, like I kind of talked about, if you've got a great automation partner or controls contractor, that's going to be really, really good opportunity for these here. Lastly, what's required of the field, and I kind of touched on this already, I just want to repeat this, is if you're going with refrigeration only controls, we're just receiving a signal just for the refrigeration, just for a call for cooling or a call for less cooling or a call for no cooling. You're still going to have to wire up to get to the damper. So you're going to need to put an actuator in there. You're going to also need to put your temperature sensors inside the space and then a user interface. But pretty much everything else we're going to take care of with that with the refrigeration only controls.
Hey, Chip, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I have a few questions on my mind. Is there a way that alarm notifications like low oil can be sent back to the master controller?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not, the refrigeration only controls is not just a one-way controller. We're actually going to be able to send a signal back. So if there is a low oil alarm, we can send that back to the master controller so they can say, hey, this is what's happening. We're getting an alarm. This is what's going on. So yes, it's a two-way signal. It's a two-way street.
Okay. So can one slave controller handle more than one unit?
Nope. If we're sitting on, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I've got one unit, I do need to have one slave controller or refrigeration only controls for each individual unit.
Okay. Is there a reason not to use strip down controls?
So this is really up to each individual request. So sometimes you're going to want this, sometimes you're not going to want this. You know, Daikin does have their own controls platform that it works great. You know, we sell it all the time, but sometimes you're just going to want a refrigeration only controls. If you want us to handle the controls, we can do that. You know, say that it's a small application where we're just dealing with just a small space. It might just be advantageous just to use the onboard control, the standard controller from Daikin.
Okay. If anybody else has questions, please contact your Long sales engineer. Thanks, Chip. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please reach out to your Long sales engineer for additional information on rooftop units with strip down controls. And now it's time for some fun. Here is our list of prizes for today's winner to choose from. We have an Elite Gourmet Popcorn Popper, a Nike Brasilia duffel bag, and a $100 Bath and Body Works gift certificate. Please join us next week when Chris Milestrup will be talking about enhanced occupancy experience with connected technology. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your time.